Okay everyone, I am Dr. Tina Reader from Department of Maxillofacial Surgery. Today we will talk about the facial space infection. So fascia, we all know fascia is a fibrous sheet that basically helps the movement of a muscle over a muscle or bone or other structures. So it is for the uninterrupted movement of the muscles. So the facial spaces are basically the potential spaces. These are not the actual spaces. Potential spaces in the sense there is no actual space, but when there is a pus or any infectious thing comes, then the fascia separates from the muscle or from the bone, and the facial spaces are formed. So to classify briefly, facial spaces can be classified the spaces in the face area of the face. They are the buccal space, canine space, masticatory space, that is very important, submasseteric, pterygomandibular and temporal spaces, and the spaces around the parotid. Then the suprahyoid spaces, they are the sublingual, submandibular, submental, lateral pharyngeal and peritonsillar spaces. Then we come to the infrahyoid spaces, that are the spaces that are below the hyoid bone, basically the pretracheal spaces. Then the spaces that involve the throughout of the length, total length of the neck, they are the retropharyngeal spaces, the danger space of the neck, and the spaces around the carotid sheath. So when we come to the management part, so this was the brief introduction of the fascia and the facial spaces. Now we come to the examination of the patient. First of all, we will see the patient with the signs of infection, the ruber-Kähler-Doller tumor, and then we will check the lymph glands. Now for the specific examination, first we take the history and review the patient's history, like when the infection has, the swelling has started, when the patient has noticed the swelling, and what was it associated with the fever or pain, or was the pain followed by the swelling, or swelling was followed by the pain. All has to be considered in the history, and then followed by the medical history and the physical examination. Now when we do the physical examination, we will do the physical examination of the specific area, the local physical examination, extraoral, followed by the intraoral, followed by the lymph node examination, because mostly in the space infection lymph nodes are also involved. Now the causative factor, the etiology, they are basically caused by the aerobic and the anaerobic microorganisms that form the normal flora of the oral cavity, mostly Staphylococcus, Lactobacillus, Actinomyces, and anaerobic like the Clostridium, Diphtheroids, Fusobacterium and the Bacteroids. Now the factors that influence the oral microbial flora are the general environment. If the oral cavity's hygiene, basic hygiene is good, it is less prone to cause the infections. If the saliva, in cases of the patients like after radiotherapy, the amount of saliva is decreased, it becomes sticky and very less, so the self-cleansing effect of the saliva is reduced, and there is chances of caries and followed by the infection. And the diet of the host, of course, if the host is taking more of the sticky diet, there are more chances of developing the infection. If the host is taking the healthy normal diet, there are less chances, plus the diet also adds to the immunity of the host. Then the pathogenic factors that are related to the microorganism, releasing toxins, releasing the protein that causes the lysis of the surrounding tissue, so they causes the more spread of the infection that can cross the muscle limits and reaches into the facial spaces. So these are the factors, host factors. the various factors we have already discussed, host factors, the immunity of the host, and so many other medical conditions that compromise the immunity, so there are more chances of developing a severe infection. Environmental factor, like I have already told you about the hygienic factor and all. And the organism, this what is the if the organism is releasing some toxins and the lytic enzymes, there are more chances of collagenases producing and coagulase producing, so they causes the rapid spread of the infection into the surrounding tissue. And some organisms are even resistant to the antibiotics, so they are more virulent than those that are can be controlled by the antibiotics. So this is the pathway of infection. If there is a periapical infection, so it started with the normal caries that causes the avascular necrosis of the pulp, and the reservoir, that necrotic pulp will act as a reservoir for the bacterial growth, and it will reach into the periapical area of the tooth. Now this can form a fistula, can lead to cellulitis, that is the generalized swelling, or it can lead to an intraoral abscess, or it can cause the ascending facial cerebral infection in the very severe cases, and the compromised host and very virulent bacteria, it can ascend to the cerebral spaces, or the deep facial space infection, or the generalized bacteremia also if the host defense is really weak. So very important to understand the difference between abscess and cellulitis when we talk about the general facial space infection. So abscess is a thick walled cavity that contains the pus, and usual bacteria that causes the abscess is the staphylococcus that produces the coagulase. So it is a confined space where the pus is formed, and it is the next stage when the macrophages and everything has come, and the dead product, that is pus, is there. And the fibrin deposition, so all these things, coagulase, fibrin deposition, all these things, they causes it to confine in a space, the pus to confine, whereas cellulitis is diffuse erythematous mucosal or cutaneous infection caused by the streptococcus that produces these enzymes that helps it to spread into the larger area, and they causes the fibrinolysis. So this is due to this fibrinolysis that it is a generalized, it is not a confined infection, it's a diffuse infection. So how the infection will spread, from which tooth, it depends on the muscle attachment and the position of the root. With respect to that, if the root is near the labial bone, it will go into the labial vestibule. If the lingual side, there will be less resistance, the fistula or the abscess will be formed on the lingual side. And the second thing will be the muscle attachment, that will also decide where we will see the infection due to the maxillary and the mandibular teeth. Then we come to the pathophysiology of infection. So first of all, there will be increased blood supply, hyperemia, passage of the exudate, that will be the primary exudate that is formed. Then the permeability factors will come, and the precipitation of network of fibrin that will take care of the spread of infection, so that it will be confined. And the last stage will be the phagocytosis and the pus formation and disposal of the necrotic tissue. So slowly the body defense will try to overcome or to clear the necrotic tissue. So these are the anatomical considerations that will decide how the infection will spread. Then we come to the management part of the facial space infection. First is the general care. Now, whichever patient has an infection, patient may be having pyretic, having fever, or will be dehydrated. So many will be in pain, having swelling. So we will take care of all these things. We will hydrate the patient, give the patient antipyretic and analgesics. And the second thing will be specific to the infection. We will give antibiotics, and final will be the incision and the drainage of the lesion. So antibiotic, when choosing an antibiotic, there should be based on the identifying the causative organism, and it should be sensitive to the organism, and use the narrow spectrum antibiotic. It should be least toxic, and it should be bactericidal, and the cost also matters. Then the principles of incision and drainage. Final thing, we have to do the incision and drainage. So always incise in healthy skin and mucosa, place incision in aesthetically acceptable area so that the patient don't get the anesthetic scar. When possible, incise in the dependent position so that the drainage will be better, and dissect bluntly throughout the deeper tissue. Stabilize the drain with suture, through and through drainage in extraoral cases, inside and outside. Remove the drain when then drainage becomes minimal, less than 10 ml or 15 ml, and clean the wound margins. So any queries are welcome.